Evangelina, it's so great to see you here. You're at the Shared Parenting Conference in Austin, Texas, but you're not here. Are you here as a parent, or what? Why are you here?
I'm here as a grandmother,
Okay.
but I'm also here for my son-in-law, who is the father of my granddaughter.
Well, that's very interesting. So you're not here for your daughter, but you're here for your son-in-law,
That's correct.
and you're here for your granddaughter.
Absolutely, yes.
Can you give us a couple of details, just very briefly?
Well, my daughter was married to my son-in-law in Georgia. Then one day she decided to move to Austin. Started to separate my granddaughter from her father.
From your son-in-law.
From my son-in-law without my knowledge, and I was not aware of that. And then one day after living with me for 3 years, she found someone on the internet, and then she just disappeared with him, taking my granddaughter with her. And this man, who is not related to my granddaughter or to any of us, has decided that no one will see my granddaughter ever again.
Now, is your daughter married right now or just living with him?
My daughter was married to my son-in-law in Georgia when she came here, and she met this guy. This man convinced her of marrying him also, and she married him. So now she is also not only alienated and alienating her child, but in a bigamous relationship with this man.
This is unbelievable.
It is.
So you're here. How did you hear about this event tonight?
Through Facebook.
Okay. Did you hear about it as a grandparent then?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you mentioned about your son-in-law. Do you have a close relationship with him?
I do, and also with the other grandmother, because my granddaughter lived with the other grandmother in Georgia for the first 3 years of her life,
Okay.
and with her father.
So how old is your granddaughter right now?
She's 9.
So she has not seen you for how long?
It's been a year this month in September, because after they left, I hired an attorney, and I was able to get a standard possession order that allowed me to pick her up every Wednesday and every other weekend, together with my son-in-law. So he would travel sometimes when he could afford it, and that went on for almost 3 years. But this man kept on paying attorneys, even though he has no relationship, no blood relationship to any of us or to my granddaughter. And finally, at a hearing in front of a judge, under what is called a summary judgment, it was determined that I, as a grandmother, did not have any rights. So my rights were taken away from one day to the next, without any previous advance advice to or notice to my granddaughter, explanation, counseling, or nothing. She never saw us again.
Wow.
I mean, we just disappeared from her life.
Yeah.
Just because the law says that grandparents do not have rights to continue seeing their grandchildren when we have done nothing to hurt them. As a matter of fact, in some of these visits, my granddaughter would come, I would pick her up, and she had bruises on her arms and her legs. My granddaughter has a medical condition related to her digestive problems because of apprehension and because of stress that she has gone through. I had a history of medical appointments that my daughter missed, that she was not taking care of this child. Nothing mattered except the way that the law is written. Grandparents have no rights.
Yes.
My son-in-law did get an order, but it is an order that I work in the courts.
Okay.
I translate for a lot of cases for divorces and custody.
Okay.
And I know exactly what these standard possession orders that parents receive, or fathers mostly, in order to be able to see their children. Well, this order that they gave my son-in-law, because he was not notified of the hearing, is just something that will probably land him in jail if we are not able to modify it, which is what we're trying to do now.
When you say land him in jail, how will it land him in jail?
Well, for example, they gave him a visitation with his daughter once a month.
Okay.
He has to give my daughter like 2 weeks notice. She has no obligation and no nothing to say, okay, when in order to coordinate the visit, he has to pay a very large amount of child support.
And if he doesn't pay, he can be thrown in jail.
And also, he has to reimburse this man that my daughter is married to
For his
for
attorney
medical
fees.
insurance.
Medical insurance.
And we're like, I think the one that needs to determine the medical insurance should be the father and the mother.
Yes.
Not the boyfriend or the bigamous husband.
Yes, yes.
Right?
You know, I'm so glad you're bringing up these issues. We've been talking about the state of Texas and some of these laws that are supposedly in the best interest of the child. And the problem, number one, is nobody even knows what the best interest of the child is. That is completely true. All these experts, they don't know what the best interest of the child is. So somehow they've come up with a standard that if we just force something, write it into law, that's in the best interest of the child. It's nonsense. The best interest of the child is to be with both parents, ideally in the same home, in an intact home.
Yeah.
The best interest of the child is to continue that strong relationship with you as a grandmother. You as a grandmother were not just loving her, but you were also providing a layer of protection for her.
Exactly.
You were able to tell her who she was, and I mean that unconditional love.
Exactly.
You mentioned that there is a judge who actually you respect in these
Very-
issues.
very much.
What exactly does he do that you respect him so much?
Well, when there is a situation of custody, he always admonishes both parents very strongly about the fact that it doesn't matter what their problems are, their fights, or whatever they may have in between them two, that what matters is that the child has a right to know and see both parents, mother and father, regardless of what other problems, and then, of course, you know, they receive a Bill of Rights, a Children's Bill of Rights, every time that there's a custody case, where it very clearly defines what they are not to do in order, things that hurt children.
The children, right.
Talk about the other parent in front of them in a negative manner.
Right.
Pretend that the child is sick in order not to fulfill with the visitation.
Yeah.
Introduce them immediately to another partner where the child gets very confused because
Right.
they don't know who is who anymore.
Right.
And
So this whole system then it's creating moral chaos in the child growing up as well. I mean, it basically, like you're saying, it's saying, number one, if you can't, in this instance, in your instance right here,
Right.
you're talking about your son-in-law. I mean, your granddaughter cannot see her father. But now this is another guy who is in a bigamous relationship
Right.
in the state of Texas,
Yes.
who has no relation to her blood-wise,
Right.
and he's calling all the shots,
And she
and the
is.
state of Texas is punishing those people, but like your son-in-law, who has to reimburse for medical insurance and everything else, like
Right.
you, who cannot see your granddaughter.
And the pain that we have gone through.
The pain.
I mean, the pain, when they took that court order away from me after almost
Yes.
3 years of picking her up religiously,
Yes,
when they took it away, I could not even speak for a month.
I understand.
I mean, till this day,
Yeah.
I wonder, what is she thinking?
I know.
That we abandon her?
I know. That happened to me almost 3.5 years ago, that my grandchildren were with me. I can't tell you how many times they were with me, sometimes up to 5 times a week, sometimes just a couple times a week. Whatever was needed, I was the one that was there to babysit. And then because of it, actually this is a little bit different because Children's Protective Services got involved and threw me under the bus.
Yeah.
My daughter ended up suing me. And I have not seen my grandkids now for almost 3.5 years. And what you just mentioned, my youngest grandson took his first steps walking to me. My older grandson, no matter whose arms he was in, if he'd see me, he'd come wriggling out, come
Right.
running to see Grandpa. What did they think?
Exactly.
What happened? Why did
Exactly.
Grandpa hate us?
Exactly.
Why did he leave us?
That's right.
And unfortunately, it's too many times a grandparent like you, as you mentioned, even though the Attorney General's website says grandparents are important, you have no rights in the state of Texas. You can sue, and by the way, you can pay your attorney, and your attorney can take all of your money and may not help you in the least.
He did.
Is that what happened to you, by the way?
Yes.
Do you mind if I ask you how much money you ended up spending, or is it not something you don't want to talk about?
It's actually something that I don't want to mention because I was very blinded by the panic of not knowing where my granddaughter was.
Yes.
My daughter also, but she's an adult. I raised her.
Right.
And she knows
that you love her?
It was too much money, but
Okay. How about churches? Did churches help at all?
my who?
Do you go to a church or anything?
Yes, I go to church.
Did the churches help you out in the situation, or did they basically somehow write you off and think that you're not?
No, no.
They don't help.
I mean, I went and talked to a priest once because of what was happening inside of me and the anguish and everything, but basically, it's a thing about, I have had a lot of self-retrospection
Yeah.
because I have had to, how would you say, agree on my faith that I have on God, which I do,
Right.
and the things that were happening down here,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I still have not been able
To understand or comprehend in the least.
exactly.
Yeah.
How could
Yeah.
God, the only thing that I think now is that God works in mysterious ways, and
Yeah.
one day we're going to fix this.
Yeah. And that's exactly the same way I look at it. Is that, I never wanted to be in this position, but
No.
I figured that perhaps God has put some people in this so that we can fix this system.
Right.
And thank you so much for speaking. I think that what you've just shared will be a great encouragement to many people and help to raise awareness. We have some pretty awful statutes in the Texas Family Code.
Yeah.
And you as a grandparent, a loving, and like a lot of these parents say, a fit, willing, able, and loving grandparent.
I want to say that I had all those.
I know.
I mean,
there's no doubt you did.
yeah.
And there's no doubt that your granddaughter
And
loves
plus,
you.
it was not only me. We have extended family
Right?
that my granddaughter adores.
Yes.
And everybody disappeared from one day to the next.
Yeah.
Literally.
So grandparents, aunts, uncles,
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for speaking. As far as I'm concerned, this is the night to start to make history in the state of Texas.
Okay.
We intend to see laws changed. Some of the people here have been working with people up in the federal government as well, highest levels of government, and we hope that by the end of next year, things will be taking place that will change
I hope
this
so too.
evil,
I hope so too.
wicked, unjust system.
Yes. I'd just like to say one more thing, that the other grandmother in Georgia, with whom my granddaughter lived for the first 3 years of
Yeah.
her life, disappeared from her just the same way, just from one day to the next when
Yeah.
my daughter came here.
Yeah.
And now she's had strokes, she's on the verge of who knows what's going to happen to her, and I pray every day that I may be able to do something before. Hopefully she will be okay, but
Well, you've mentioned something, and I didn't mean to take this on, but some people talk about it's a bullet almost that's fired at you, but it has a delayed action in killing you, in a sense.
yes.
And that doesn't kill everybody. It hurts, it injures a lot of people, but there are some people that they never quite recover. And it does have a terrible effect.
Yes.
And for those people that participate or encourage that type of alienation, shame on them.
Exactly. Because then it is abuse on us.
It is abuse on.
Exactly. We haven't done anything.
Right, right.
So
Well,
anyway.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being here. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.